Hello there! Welcome back to the Handmaidens. You've been seeing a lot of all of us lately, haven't you? Elisa just was on with her sheep making great sheep feeders. And Laura was checking in with her stinky pits. So anyhow, we have nothing of the sort today. Today we are making hummingbird feeder. Yep, that's right. A simple, cheap, safe recipe, and he's cooking. Okay, what you need to make your own hummingbird feeder. No more going to the store. No more buying bottles of that red stuff, because we're going to talk about that in a little bit. We don't do that anymore. 1 cup of sugar, 4 cups of water. This is hot water. It's come from my water cooler, distilled mineral water, mountain water. Mando's going to boil it. And after he boils it, he's going to stir in the sugar. Okay? So while he's doing that, yeah, I got that preheated. Go ahead. Whoa. Go ahead, Mondo. I didn't expect that. Pour that in there. Yeah, so 4 cups. The ratio has to be exact because hummingbirds are like these smart guys that know if you're cheating, you go like, hey, how are they going to know how much? I'm going to save some money and I'm going to cheap out. They won't drink it. If it's not the right percentage of sugar to water ratio, they will leave it there. Okay? Look at those birds. Tiniest birds there are of all the species. Their brains are way bigger than their bodies. Okay? And there you go. It looks like that's going to boil real quickly. Stir away, stir away. So I want to talk about hummingbirds. As you know, that most of the nectar that you see, the hummingbird nectar that we can buy for our hummingbirds, they don't need us to do that, but it's helpful to keep the species happy and full, and they eat a lot because they are busy burning all those calories with their flying with those wings, right, that you can't even see with your human eye, and they're flying at like 30 to 40 miles per hour. These guys, they're diving at 200 miles per hour. Yeah, these guys are super duper. Anyhow, we want to discuss, we need them in our ecosystem. They're really important, and some of them are going extinct. So it's real important that we take good care of the hummingbirds, and they're really fascinating to watch. Now, I never was per se a hummingbird girl, if there's such a thing, but I always kind of related to them. I have bluebirds that come to my yard. I've got cardinals. I've got blue jays. I've got chickadees. I got orioles. I've got, barn swallows and all sorts of birds, but not a lot of hummingbirds. I'm not up to date or keeping up frequently with my hummingbird feeders. When you fill your hummingbird feeder, you gotta change it frequently because we don't want to get these guys sick. We don't want any mold or mildew. We want to give them enough to eat. And you want to have enough hummingbird feeders because they're a little aggressive, and will fight each other if they see somebody going for their source of food. So we're not the only ones. They get their own food from our flowers, tubular shaped flowers that they enjoy. And the reason you buy the red stuff, the idea is that hummingbirds don't have a sense of smell. They have sight, and they see the red color and yellow colors the most. And then they will also be attracted to pink flowers and blue flowers too. But we're trying to fake them out so we can enjoy them and give them a good meal while by putting red and yellow here on the containers. Here's some yellow here on this one. This guy I bought, I love this guy. This is beautiful, but he's leaking, so I got to figure out what I'm going to have to do there. Maybe put some silicone to seal that. I don't know. I keep believing that if I screw it tighter, it's going to work. But I put it in the garden and it's all out. You want to hang your hummingbird feeders underneath a tree, near some foliage, near some flowers. So, it's a more natural habitat. Around 5 or 6 feet off the ground is good. Here's one I had that I broke the glass. These are all glass. And I have been trying to find the right thing to screw in there, like replace it with some other old bottle. And so far, I haven't found the exact threading. And I'm thinking if they manage to make in China a threading that doesn't work specifically, so we would have to throw this out, I'm going to be pretty angry. So I got to think about this. If not, I'll find out a way to reuse these little flowers and make my own. I'm going to do this. I'm determined. But today, we're just making, that looks like you got that all stirred up. I don't see any sugar. You know, just like Kool-Aid. Some people say you don't have to boil it. I like to boil it because it kills any bacteria, because I do store it. Here's some I've made before. It's been stored in the fridge. And you want that to cool off, obviously. You don't want to burn the little suckers if they come by. You don't want to burn yourself. So we're going to turn this off. And you turn that off, do whatever. And I'll talk some more about hummingbirds and the red coloring. I'd like to say you all know not to buy the red coloring because you all know it, because everybody knows they don't need the coloring. They need the nectar, they need the sugar, they need the calories. But if everyone knew that, then why are they still selling it in the store? Must be selling it because somebody's buying it. So I did a little research to find out how much research is done on the ill effects of red dye on hummingbirds. And come to find out, you know how many studies have been done, scientific studies? 0. There aren't scientific studies on them. There is some information that states that perhaps that there was some residue in the urine of the hummingbirds that was red, that maybe be coming from eating from our feeders and stuff. That's some information. But we can extrapolate. We can't do studies because you're not going to take a controlled group of hummingbirds and feed it a poison, and take a group of hummingbirds and give them not colored stuff and see who dies. That's like as unethical as it gets. But we do have some information that the red dye 40, just so happens to be what we put in our food sources, is banned in European nations for human consumption. But lucky us, we still get to eat it. There is studies that link with humans the consumption of red dye number 40 or red 40 lake or red 40 aluminum lake or whatever it's called, is linked to hyperactivity in children, ADHD in anyone, and cancers, and headaches, and migraines, and muscle aches, and allergic reactions, and all that. So I got to thinking, well, number one, why are we eating it? You know, it's linked to all this stuff. I remember when Elisa was a baby, she would eat anything orange and take off like a bat out of hell. She was like an insane wild child. And I told people, this was before I know anything about food colorings or anything like that. I'm like, anytime she eats a Cheeto or anything orange, a cheese nip or something, or orange soda, boom, this child's uncontrollable. Well, you know, a lot of the red dye, orange dyes, or red dyes and yellow dyes mixed together. So Elisa was experiencing, before I knew anything about it, you know, and I was genuinely reporting my, you know, case study of a child and a reaction to food coloring. So we're in this store after I'm doing this research recently about the hummingbirds. I'm giving them clear versus red. And we're shopping, and Mondo throws in a bag of his favorite hot snacks. Yeah, like a right, we'll say, a nacho type thing. Yeah, we're not going to throw them under the bus like that. But, so I take the bag out of the cart, and I'm like, wait a minute. This has red dye 40. And Mondo goes like this. So we do a little tug of war back and forth. Give that to me. You can't have it. Mom, I want it. You can't have it. Mom, I want it. You can't. And he got it because Mondo gets everything he wants on this earth. But for our crying out potatoes, guess what? Over my dead body, is he getting any more of them? And I'm starting to read. I'm starting to pay attention. do you know, in there in the other room doing some research of his own is the Twizzler King. Twizzlers, delicious. Love those babies. Red dye number 40. Medicines that are, coated in that nice red, make them easy to swallow. Yeah, you got it. If we are so savvy and care about our birds, many of us, do we have enough care or concern about ourselves to let's just not do it? We can have, speaking of birds and hummingbirds and their hearts going they beat up to 1,200 beats a minute. And I was thinking hey, I drink this stuff, these drinks that make me go, my heart beat 1,200 beats a minute. And the neat thing about those energy drinks that I have is that when you take them out of the can, you pour them in a cup, they're clear. There's no coloring. We don't need coloring. We can taste it without the color, right? So until we find, or we're going to have to make our own.
Other than not when the energy.
It's not for anything. It's to appeal marketing to us. It's the same thing market to us because we go hey, wouldn't our hummingbirds love to have this red color? So let me figure out how I get this off first. And we're going to fill these with mine because then I can go hang them out and get on with my day. So enough about my rant about red dye. We're not doing it. No more. Never nada. Anyhow, back to hummingbirds. Let me tell you a story. So hummingbirds just so happen to be not only they're good ecologically for our ecosystem as pollinators and spreading seeds and whatever, doing great things, eating bugs and insects and helping us with our flowers and stuff. And they are going to be going extinct, 10% of them, I guess, throughout South and Central America. They are magical birds. And now we got, for all you that are still listening and know, 1 cup of sugar, 4 cups of water, boil it, mix it, store it, feed them in clean containers, change them frequently. The magical birds. They're one of the most magical creatures there are. And they are thought to be, thank you, my dear. Yes, I always forget. They're thought to be messengers. They were actually in Mexico and stuff, they were thought to be like gods and goddesses at points, that the hummingbird would identify healing plants, that they could go out and they would go to the plants that were safe and that they would know, the healers would know what plants to use for healing. Anyhow, I was out in my fire pit a few weeks ago. We had a fire, which I call First Fire, which is the family, whatever family members gets together, and we think about our ancestors. I call it an ancestral fire. I began naming my fires like people name tornadoes, right? Tornadoes. So I named A, the first one, B, the second one. Very first one, we go through the whole alphabet. Anyhow, I was back in the fire pit the other day, and I'm walking in there, and I have an archway leading to the fire pit, and I'm just in my own thoughts, and I'm walking through, and I put some twigs and sticks in the fire pit, and I'm going along, and all of a sudden, and I mean, I'm not wearing anything bright. There's not a flower to be seen where I am. And a hummingbird comes flying. I thought he's going to go right in my eyeballs. And the hummingbird hovered, took me by surprise because I don't have any hummingbird feeders out or anything. There's no reason I haven't seen a hummingbird. Stops right there as I'm coming out of my ancestral designated place on the property, looks at me and poof, goes away. So I look up to find out the meaning of hummingbirds. Wait, have I been wrong? Are hummingbirds my spirit animal? This is what I need to know. And it seems that hummingbirds are messengers and are often messengers of ancestors. So I'm like, oh my God, that's what we were just doing. And I got a hummingbird coming to me, trying to tell me something. And it's a really good omen if you see, because they're very rare. If you see a hummingbird, it is a super good omen to have a hummingbird come to you. And I'm feeling really, they're messengers of love, and they're messengers of health and healing. They're also associated with doctors and nurses, so because they're about the healing animals. So I started to look at, like, am I? I've always kind of felt like I'm a little hyper, like a hummingbird, and I'm on the shorter size, and kind of a larger brain head type thing, like a hummingbird. And maybe that is my spirit animal. And then I'm looking, and they said hummingbirds can fly in all directions. I'm reading this stuff. Front, back, sideways. It's the only bird that can do that. So it's associated with people that like to go in the past, but don't stay there. Don't dwell in the past, because then they go forward and they go everything. So that's sort of what I'm fascinated with, history and things like that, and ancestry. But I bring it forward. I'm also, like what's growing new things and all about that. So maybe that's my new spirit animal. I used to like dragonflies, but I might be a hummingbird moving forward. So anyhow, there's some interesting folklore. There's a fable, a lore, whatever, a story, I guess, in Puerto Rico, in the Puerto Rican Islands. And it was a story that long, long ago, when the islands were with the indigenous people, probably the Taínos in the Caribe, which I do have in my ancestry, there was a girl sitting by a lake or something, and the boy, they were from opposing tribes, and they fell in love. And the girl was promised to be married to somebody else. Like she was the Taino, he was the Caribe, and she was in love with him, and she didn't want to, so she wanted to hide from her father, who had promised her someplace else, and she prayed to the gods, please, let me be, so my father cannot find me to, be married to this man I do not want to marry. And so the gods went boom, and they turned her into a beautiful red flower, the biggest and one of all amongst millions of flowers, so her father could not find her. Well, then when the boy, the Caribe boy, went looking for his love and found out what she had done, he cried to the gods, please help me, I don't want to be without my lover. So they turned him, boof, into a hummingbird, and he spent his days going through searching the flowers for his love. And that's star-crossed lovers. It's like Romeo and Juliet. I don't know what their names were, but I'm sure they have names in the story. Another story, which I absolutely love, is a story about, and I don't know who the author was, I just happened to read it. I just got overwhelmingly, fascinated with hummingbirds after that guy, I'm like, oh, geez. So there was a story about a hummingbird. The forest catches on fire, and all the forest animals are forced to leave the forest. They lose their home. They're in despair, and they're depressed, and they're, oh my God. And the hummingbird's out there going like, oh, he starts going, I know what I'll do. And he goes and gets a drink of, little drop of water in his teeny tiny mouth, that long beak and that little tongue. He can lick 13 licks a second, just so you know. And he goes flying off to the edge of the fire, and drops a drop, and goes back and gets another one, drops a drop, goes back and forth, zoom, 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 dropping out. And one of the big birds, who knows, probably an owl, like, what are you doing? And the hummingbird said, I'm doing what I can. And I like that message, because when we're here trying to do environmental stuff and whatever, it might not make a drop of difference, but at least we're doing what we can. And that's the whole thing behind the Handmaid, is we do what we can. We don't do it all, and it may not even matter, but we feel good doing what we can. So we're going to feed, by the way, how much is that stuff? How much is the hummingbird food that you buy at the store, I wonder? Because this is pennies to make. And we're going to pour that right in there. Healthy. Clear. And that's a lot of hummingbird drink. I probably shouldn't fill it all up, because you don't want it to get old and stagnant. And I have some other bottles. As God is my witness, I am going to make make my own hummingbird feeders from scratch, tip to toe. I saw they sold some things that you could buy, just the ends, like a little cork and a little nozzle. I don't know. I'm not keen on that. Do not use any honey. It's too thick for them. It'll kill them. Don't use any other sort of stuff. Don't use any other juices and stuff. I did want to make I'm still trying to look to see if I can make a flower infusion out of actual flowers for the color red. I know, after everything I just said. But make it with sugar like I'd make my violet syrup, but I don't know. In the meantime, I'm not risking it. I'm not going to do anything to hurt the birds. Now that might be my spirit animal, for God's sakes, I am going to do 1 cup of sugar, 4 cups of water. You can stir it back in. You don't even have to, just right in there, you don't even have to cook it like we did, but I want to make sure there's no bacteria while I'm storing it, okay? And boiling kills germs. And then we're going to put it outside. We're going to wait. You got to be very quiet. Hummingbirds don't like to be, interact too much, except the one that came and gave me a visitation. That was really cool. But you can sit and observe. It's a great thing to do with your kids. There's like 300 different species of hummingbirds. Up here in the Northeast, the most common one would be the ruby-throated hummingbird. I don't know. I got to take a look out. But it's really special to us because they don't have this in Europe or Asia and other places. Hummingbirds are our thing. North America, South America, Central America, and the Caribbean islands. That's our baby, man. And we want to keep the hummingbirds, keep them coming, keep them alive, keep them healthy, because it's the right thing to do. We don't want to poison them. We're not going to poison ourselves anymore with red whatever you're eating. Hot snacks. We're going to have to figure out, people, we got to learn how to make our own nachos. We got to do this, right? With corn flour. We're going to do this, so help me. And we're not using red coloring. They're going to be hot as can be. There's a red coloring they make using crushed bugs. So if you're vegan, you probably won't want to do that. But you can do that. Use a different kind of red, natural. It doesn't have to be this. You know what they make red dye number 40 out of? Petroleum products. Oh, yum, yum, yum. Just what I want, my Twizzler. Anyhow, here we got another one. This is glass. I don't love this one, but it's missing a thing. I've had these things around since the beginning of time. Wrong end. Oh, that's the hangy end. There we go. It's half broken. It'll work. It's okay. I'm not going to fill that guy because he still needs some work. I'm still looking for something for this one. But we're going to go hang him out and wait and see if we can attract some hummingbirds. As usual, by the way, hummingbirds do not mate for life. They mate with whoever's hanging around. Yes, that's it. So they're not only, I think, love, but they're related to lust. I'm not sure. But they lay 2 little tiny eggs, the teeniest tiny eggs ever. The mother is the only one that cares for the animals because dad is like, see ya. It is Happy Father's Day this weekend, so a Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Good thing for dads to do with their kids. Make some bird houses. Make some hummingbird feeders. Hang them up. This is good. I'll put some more of that in there. I'll just pour that back. And so there's all sorts of stuff. Research the birds. Oh my God, what a great wealth of knowledge. Great stuff to share with your kids. Great, wholesome fun to do. Is that all going to come out of there? There we go. I got two that I can fill, hang outside, ready to go. And the third one that I will be able to do in a little bit. And I hope that one's not leaking. Oh, it's because I had it upside down. The top leaked. That doesn't matter. Okay, we'll put the extra here. Put that in there for later when I fix him. And we're going to put the stuff Mondo made for me. We're going to pour that. Do you think? I'll pour that right in there. And I'll have that for a refill. There you go. Cheap as could be. Easy as could be. I hope you'll learn something. If not, I hope we at least entertained you a little bit. maybe it's something useful that you'll want to do. And if it is, and if you want to hang out with us, we'd be happy to have you. We thank you, all the subscribers so far. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button. Like the video if you so choose. Put a comment. Tell me about your favorite bird. Tell me about what your spirit animal is. I want to know. We want to know. We want to get a conversation going, people. Okay? And ring the bell if you can find the bell. I don't know where the bell is, but then you could get notified for future videos, and there's going to be a lot of them. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time, okay? Bye-bye.